All right, folks, we are just about 48 hours away from Pac-12 football in Palo Alto with Kansas State coming to town. We bring in Don King from Last Word on Sports and also Nick Dempsey from Rule of Tree to set us up for the Wildcats and the Cardinal. So, guys, these are two of the more cliched programs in all of college football because Stanford's a new elite team that by perception got there a certain way, and Kansas State's a team that somehow finds its way typically to the top 25 incredibly, void of much dynamic talent that makes its way to the NFL. So, Don, we'll start with you in regards to your thoughts about Friday night, what you would like to see out of the Cardinal. I think we would all be surprised if they lost the game, but I don't think Stanford faithful want to see them eke through with a 3 or 6 point win. What's going to be a solid victory? What does that look like to you?
Yeah, a solid victory looks like two or three touchdown margin, 14, 17, 21 points, something like that. Last time I glanced, I think the line is 15.5, which I think is probably about right, given the number of things that we don't know. The game is at Stanford Stadium, but it's going to be quiet. Class not yet back in session. Mm-hmm. But I still think that feels about right. I will lay odds right now that the first play from scrimmage will be a play-action pass with a fake to McCaffrey and Ryan Burns firing one somewhere at somebody, unless they come out in a dime package and they're only against a three-man front. I will bet you that the first play is going to be a pass, because if I'm Bill Snyder in K-State, I'm going to make Ryan Burns have to beat me through the air. So I think he's likely to wind up checking to that, and and we'll know really, really quickly if he's as comfortable under the bright lights as he apparently was throughout fall camp.
Nick, what does a solid performance for the Cardinal look like for you 48 hours from now?
First off, I just like to say, actually, I like what Don's saying there. And we know David Shaw, at least with Hogan, he liked to take his shots downfield when he had them, for sure. You might even also see the trickeration, where the pitch to McCaffrey, then the pitch back. But I digress. I want to see Stanford win the box. I want to see them dominate on both the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They're no longer 5 yards in a cloud of dust, but they still win and lose in the box. Every single David Shaw game has taken on that fashion. So I want to see that they have all their preparation has led them to winning the box on both sides of the ball. And not just because maybe they're bigger or stronger, but because they're doing all the things, all the fundamental things they need to do. I want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see everybody stay healthy. I just want to see improvement or progress from your quarterback. What I do not want to see is maybe Burns comes out, looks terrible. They make a switch at halftime. He doesn't come out good. Everybody's out of rhythm. Everything's funky. I just want a good, clean, sound, fundamental game. And probably if they do that, they should win by 3 touchdowns. But with all the question marks, I want some answers. But at the same time, they also have that week off next week. So if there is a lot of sloppiness they have to clean up, they've got time before, the gates of hell open upon them. But I want to see that they're not going to have to make huge leaps and bounds before USC in week 3.
Well, if you're going to select 2 lunch pail teams in all of college football, these are the 2 programs you select. The difference has been in recent years is that the Stanford-Kansas State matchup a couple years ago to 3 to 5 years ago would have been very competitive. Kansas State was on a run with Bill Snyder and going to BCS bowl games, but the program's tailed off. Stanford continues to rise. It's differentiated itself, so there's a talent gap there. And Kansas State's coming off a 6-7 year, and it much has the feel of what it was last year for the Wildcats, where they're clearly better than the horrible teams in the Big 12, but they really got kicked around from the Oklahomas of the world. They got off to conference play, and they had 2 excruciating losses out of the gate, and that kind of deflated them, took the wind out of their sails. They don't have a lot of depth, and then they started to get really run out of town at the back portion of the schedule. Typical showing against Arkansas in the bowl game, where they were gritty, they were gutty. It was a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. Then Arkansas, too fast, too big, too strong, blows them out in the last 10 or 12 minutes of the game, and it's a 27-point game. They were 6-7 last year. Kansas State, regardless of the score, guys, on Friday night, they are going to be happy if they get through this game with their starting quarterback intact. Their starting quarterback who won the job last August, Jesse Ertz, he tore out his ACL on the very first play from scrimmage in the first game last year.
Yeah. Has still not thrown his first collegiate pass, which is, God bless the kid. It's awful.
That's heartbreaking.
Yep. But they do have a kid in Joe Huebner who has a wealth of experience and has won a lot of games there, even prior to the 6-7 showing last year, 8 and 9 games the prior season when they lost to UCLA, I believe, in the Alamo Bowl the previous season. What's uncommon for this Kansas State team coming back, guys, they gave up about 450 yards per game and 32 points. So they're not nearly what they've been on defense, at least coming back. The recruiting rankings just belie what we see on the field with them. This is a program that recruits like in the 75 or 80 range and somehow produce 8-win teams. It's crazy how Bill Snyder gets it done, but he somehow gets it done. But this might be a little bit too much to ask on Friday night.
That sounds exactly right, Mark. And honestly, I think we all have to take 5 seconds and just applaud the great Bill Snyder. Yes. God bless the man. I mean, he built that program out of nothing, and then he tried to step away and wound up having to come back. And nobody else has been able to do what he's been able to do there in the Little Apple. So he's a really impressive coach, and they're going to come in. They're going to come in tough. They're going to come in well drilled. They're going to come in ready to play. It speaks to exactly what Nick and I were talking about a minute ago. If Stanford's really sloppy in the first half, it could be a problem because if you give a team like that hope, as well coached as they're going to be, it's not going to be a walk in the park. But if you can come out and kind of put your knee on their neck right out of the gate, the talent differential ought to be able to manifest itself. Stanford is just way too much better than K-State is at all of the skill positions on offense. And the defensive secondary we know is going to be really strong for Stanford this year. If they can generate pressure up front, which I'm thinking the D-line is going to improve and should be able to help out there, and as long as the inside linebackers hold up, it could be a pretty long night for the K-State offensive unit.
Yeah, Snyder came back in 2009. He got it back on track with a couple 7-6 campaigns and then 10-3 in 2011. He's produced 3 top 15 teams since 2011.
Right.
The final AP poll. 3 times in the top 15 since 2011, despite the issues recruiting, speed, and athleticism. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's one of the all-time greats in college football history. And another interesting asterisk on this game, at least from where I sit, these two schools have never played. This is the first ever meeting between Stanford and Kansas State, which I find kind of interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also not 100% convinced that Bill Snyder is not some sort of very powerful wizard.
He might be.
He might be. But that guy, he does rely an awful lot on JUCOs transfers to come in because the recruiting is not, like Mark said, the 75, 80s. So the problem with that is that depends on what you can get JUCO transfer-wise and how good of a year those guys have. But when he gets great things out of those guys, his young team, he can do amazing things. The point is, don't ever underestimate Bill Snyder or a Bill Snyder coach team. That's the one thing that makes me think the 15.5-point line Don mentioned might be high, just because it's Bill Snyder.
Yep.
But all things being equal, if Stanford does the things they need to do, I think they should win very comfortably.
Yeah, just to continue the theme, if you go back to his first stay in Manhattan, he took over an 0-11 program, and in total, he has finished ranked in the top 25, final AP poll 13 times, and 5 times in the top 10 in the country to finish the season.
Yeah. What he's done is absolutely remarkable.
It really is.
I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but if he isn't, he should be. I know the field there is named after him. He ought to be in the College Football Hall of Fame without a question.
All right, guys, think about this before I let you go. Next time we talk, we're going to talk about football that actually occurred like in the last couple days.
I cannot wait. Can't wait. Man, it's been a long, dry summer.
Yes. This is my Christmas. I can't wait to get up early and open presents.
Amen.
I know it. It's going to be good. It's the longest off season, both in actuality, but for the rabid college football fan, it just plain is, period, just in our minds and hearts, waiting for college football to arrive. All right, Nick Dempsey from Rule of Tree and Don King from Last Word on Sports. The three of us love college football, and that's one of the reasons we get along so well. So, guys,
Amen.
thanks for jumping on board here.
Anytime, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.